Welcome to Cafe Rise. This is episode 148, and it's the first episode of the year 2026, and we're glad to have you here today. It's going to be a fun year, and it's going to be a fun episode. We're going to be talking about the year ahead. Some fun things we'll be talking about is marketing and infrastructure, fundraising, AI, and there's a nice little leak related to that for later in the episode, scaling and processes, things of that nature. I'll comment on a lot of that here in a second, but before we get too far along, Rob, what are you drinking today?
Yep, Happy New Year, everyone. So, my first drink of the year, I thought I would make it a unhealthy one. Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Fresh in Santa's colours, because I think they made the branding for Santa, didn't they? The
I
modern
wonder
Santa.
if the Coke's the same over there as it is
right?
over here.
Yeah, it's all a scam.
Coke's tied to Santa?
They invented the holidays are coming and all that. The red and white branding.
Yeah, that's true.
Really?
They are totally responsible for
Who
the
knew
modern day
Santa was a lie? I didn't know. I thought it was... Anyway, what are you drinking, Josh?
I am drinking a black tea.
Oh, nice.
And you may have noticed that we have a special guest with us today, David.
Yeah.
What are you drinking, sir? Stanley?
Well, I've actually downgraded from the Stanley to a very cheap water bottle because I find it takes a lot of time. I've got a lot of work going on. I'm messaging a lot of people and doing things in Engine, and it just takes too long to get water out of the Stanley. So this one, I can just squeeze and instantly send it into my mouth, take it down, and I'm done. That probably saves me 10 seconds a day.
Okay, hold on. I don't understand. So I happen to have a Stanley right here just to, how does it take long?
I need more water more quickly. Yeah,
that's a big straw, though.
I need propulsion. I need the water I need it to actually squirt.
You need jet power.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right, I got you. Wow,
efficiency. Okay.
So you're almost beer bonging water to get it down real quick.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Got you.
Agua fresco.
Huh? Do they have beer bonging in UK, Rob?
Beer bonging.
No, you answered the question already. Beer bonging. So you get a funnel. Like this is for this is D-Gen, high school D-Gen style. You get a funnel with a tube and you pour the beer in and you slam it super quick because you're using gravity and a larger. Yeah, never mind. We don't need to go into that.
Yeah,
we're just having a little bit of fun. So
I mean the words mean something else, but I mean I know what you mean.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. True. Okay. So, let me comment on a few of the things that I mentioned because I didn't even cover it all. We're really going to get into the game and where's the game going in the remainder of this year. I covered a few topics in the intro there. Marketing, for example. This is a massive year for us. I mean, it is a massive year for us. I have a large amount of stress on the amount of things that we have to accomplish. We just had a call with the team about all of this and how everyone, the leadership, we all need to be very, very focused, get our next 90 days in order and really just hit the ground running. So we've got some fun stuff ahead this year for sure. But marketing, why is it a big year for marketing? Because not only do we have to cover the crypto side and, the Web3 side of things, but we also have a significant shift in focus to really massively prepare for mainstream marketing. We've already started some ad funnels that are getting us more traction on the Steam coming soon pages and the Epic coming soon pages. That's working incredibly well. So we'll probably ramp that up over time. So we have, ideally 20 to 50,000 people on the waiting list for the coming soon pages. That's a goal for this year. But we've got to get marketing influencers on the mainstream side, start developing relationships and be ready to hit the on switch with that. And then also marketing publications on the mainstream side and the marketing ecosystem in general, that we're going to take that ecosystem level approach with marketing. So a ton to do on the marketing side of things. And on the infrastructure side, we need to prepare. We on the nodes, we're going to have a node summit here pretty soon. But we're preparing on infrastructure, not just with game servers, getting our processes in order there to be able to ramp up for a lot of new users and things of that nature. but also with the nodes and the game downloads and everything we need to do to prepare there. So we have a node summit coming. That's going to be on Thursday, the 22nd. It's for our node operators. And that is going to be at 3 p.m. UTC. 3 p.m. UTC time. So mark your calendars. We'll get you details on where to go and what to do, but that's coming up soon. So infrastructure is a major area of focus for us this year, because we're bringing on some numbers. We want to ramp up the numbers and really get the number of monthly active players up, daily active players up, and that causes tech constraints, and we need to have them solved in advance. And that also leads me to fundraising, which is a core focus for this year as well. We are in the position where it's time for this company to come into maturity in a variety of ways, right? The game is, and the product is coming to maturity, ready for marketing to mainstream players. That means a lot. That means a lot of new demands and new team members and acceleration that we need to start going towards. Not just acceleration in terms of marketing funding for a more aggressive launch, but acceleration with some team members to support that tech that we're talking about. And some acceleration on the game side to really deliver content and really improve and speed up our process and go to market. So fundraising wise, it's time to accelerate. I mean, we're hitting the go button. So we're halfway through a seed round right now, which is going very well. And that's the start. And from there, we're going to transition into a crowdsourced round, which should allow some of you, maybe not everybody, to participate, but should allow some of you to participate if you're interested. But we'll do that crowdsourced round. And then that's going to position us to get some marketing around an alpha launch, things of that nature. What we really want to do is build up our daily active users, monthly active users, and position ourselves towards either late 2026 or early 2027, a Series A round, where we really are prepared for a beta launch. Not saying that the beta launch would be in that time period, but we need to run the Series A round to prep and get ready for that sort of things. Yeah, that's fun stuff. Another big fun value add for the game, and we'll get into more detail on this, is going to be on the AI side of things. Obviously, we know where things are headed with AI. It's getting incredibly powerful. It's faster and faster. It's speeding up exponentially. And the value adds that we can bring to the game, we've talked about it a lot before. I talked about it 2 years ago on Twitter on what we want to do with this. We're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of this episode, because we're going to make it concrete this year. It's going to happen. So, and baby steps, but it's going to happen. It's a big deal. So, and then lastly, I'll sum up with this, and then Rob, if you wanted to tag on anything I said or whatever, and then we'll transition into gaming. Being that we're transitioning into this maturity phase, I'm thinking a lot about processes and scaling. There's a lot that we need to do, and it needs to be efficient, which means we need laser tight processes in a lot of areas. And so that we can, so that one team member can pass off functionality to the next and oversee multiple things. There's a variety of reasons for processes, but we're going into processes and scale in many ways. And so that means being organized. And so we're going to get laser tight on all of that stuff. Hopefully that was an exciting intro. Rob, did you have anything you wanted to add?
The intro, I thought that was the entire episode. See us next week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see you. Questions?
Yeah, so I mean, so much you went through there. I just want to rewind a little bit and just talk about what the summit is about next week. I don't want to give anything away, just to kind of get the node operators excited. So it is for, I mean, delegators that you can definitely come along as well. We'll have something to say for you guys. We'll have something for the node operators. We've received questions over the last few weeks, 6 to 7 weeks, haven't we? We've been gathering questions. So we're going to go through and answer as many of those as we can. Greg has put together a roadmap for the file nodes. So we're going to go through that as well. And we have an overall roadmap or a first offering for what we're looking to achieve with potentially some other nodes this year as well. So we're going to talk about those. We're also going to touch on. No, I'm not going to tell you what we're going to touch on. Well, you just have to be there. We're gonna try and record it. I think it might be in Discord. We will announce that. And for those that can't make it, we will have some notes on it, and no doubt all operators will talk about it. So that's the Node Summit next Thursday. In terms of, I think you spoke about raising funds next, and going through. I mean, that's all exciting, and that obviously depends on where the game is at and our roadmap for the game. So David will talk about that and how we're going to add even more and more features. And we've just this current build that's out. Well, we'll leave that to talk about David as well. We'll talk about that. And then finally, I think you spoke about something else, but I can't remember now. It's a long time ago. What was I remember saying goodbye? What was the last thing you talked about?
Scaling processes, AI, infrastructure, and marketing.
Yes, AI stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely not talking about that. And welcome to the show, David. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Just been sitting here waiting for an opportunity to talk about the game. So
now is your chance.
Now we're here. So
we're out of time. Sorry. So great to have you.
Sure, the community would be happy about that. So, I mean, I got a huge list of notes here because I kind of wanted to cover what are we working on right now, what's happening over the next 3-4 months, and kind of, we'll extend it out to about
quickly tail end what we just released and the hotfix as well, and then we can move over.
Sure. So hotfix, I kind of wanted that out a little bit sooner than it is now, but we've had some issues with the transportation systems. But the general idea was to fix some issues we had with questing. There was some audio issues that kept triggering every time that everybody in the map that could hear. It was kind of annoying, so we got that fixed. There were some transportation issues. I think it was Linda that put out showing the monorail was incredibly. It was just this huge pileup of trains. So there's been some fixes done in that. We had some issues with elevators. We also had some performance issues in global because of the ongoing work with the apartments right now. So some of that's going to be fixed, and we got a build running right now. Actually, just kicked it off about an hour ago. I think that's going to be the final build, and I guess by the time this episode is out, you guys probably already have that hot fix in your hands. So let's hope so. Since we got a lot of things to move on to.
It might be a bit of a confession time as well, because we released quests. So, the original date for the build was the 19th of December. So that's how much we worked on it all Christmas and New Year to get it out, because it was really important to get those first impressions in. And we know we started off with 3 recipes, and there was a secret recipe that nobody yet, as far as I know, has managed to figure out what that final recipe is. Well, the clue is one of those ingredients. I'm not telling you which one it was. We actually didn't put in the game. So it
was there. It just is not.
Yeah, you just couldn't get to it. There was so that was an oversight. So we're really, really sorry about that. But I mean, it was a little bit of fun. It's now there in the hotfix. So
yeah,
very good.
Sorry for whoever spent probably 8 hours looking for that.
Yeah,
so
quite
that is our bad. So
yeah, but the item is there, and there's lots of them.
So that's
kind of where we're up to.
People that were chiming in Discord saying that they had to, they were doing some hunting. Hopefully, it increased your knowledge of the terrain.
Yeah, and then it's to do with one of the bushes, and then when we actually put one of the new bushes in, we were almost again ready to release, and then we realized that the bush that we'd put in was something like 50 foot tall. We'd got the scaling wrong of it.
Very big bush.
So you couldn't miss it. You'd gone from not being able to find it to not being able to miss it. So yeah. And when we do these builds, they just take almost half a day to do. So yeah, we had a few things to change, but all is good now.
Good.
So we hope you're liking questing and crafting.
You guys did a great. I mean, It's awesome. This is what excites me about the questing thing is, again, back to scale. It scales well. You've got the system in place, the core questing system's in place, and now we can scale that in a variety of ways to add value to the game. Hundreds of hours of value to the game, thousands of hours, whatever it may be. As we scale that system, it adds more and more and more value to the game, and so I really love that about it. And it's going well so far. People are loving it. So great job.
I think probably to segue into, because I know, David, you've started. I'll let you continue now. I think we should start off with, because you've done the majority of work on those cinematics, which are just freaking awesome. And then when we changed things, you had to redo the cinematics and redo some voices, and then it was all good fun. But we were introduced to Emma. Let's start off talking about Emma, because she's going to be quite important.
Yeah. So, I mean, the community is going to see the part 2 of this once we come up to the next big release. But Emma, and we're probably going to have several of these, and you might actually, in some cases, get a different one. But we'll say that for the future. But Emma is, I think there was some confusion about where is she, that kind of thing. She's definitely kind of talking over the radio. You can hear kind of that radio sound.
That's what I like about it, is the radio sound.
Yeah,
it gives you that you're at a theme park and somebody's about to give you a tour kind of feel.
Like, yeah. So she's kind of touring the player. She obviously works for the Cornucopias government, that kind of thing. Probably in a call center. Might hate her job, I don't know, but she is pretty cheerful in guiding the player through things. And maybe, I saw somebody asking when they can see Emma. So I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of a romantic element. Somebody in the community is kind of interested in Emma, but maybe in the future you will see a physicalized version of Emma that you can meet somewhere in the game. So, but yeah, that's your guide. There is a direction to have. Some of you might also think that it's a little bit cinematic heavy in the beginning, but we definitely have to have a pretty good intro for players that really explains things well. This is a very large game. This is not a game that just hinges on one game mechanic being the hot thing. There's a lot of directions for players to go, and we've got things for a lot of different player types to do. So it's kind of a slow, longer tour through things. And that is the direction, though. You will see a lot of little cinematics and things going on. Some of those with a lot more action, a little bit more interesting things going on. You will also always have a wonderful orchestra score going on in the background as well. What you're actually hearing in that one was sort of the Toledo OST. So I know some of the community members really like that, but we'll kind of continue with that vibe. It has this sort of, I don't know, I always think we have a very different world, and it kind of has a little bit of a maybe vintage Hollywood orchestra vibe, that kind of thing. It feels like, you're part of some big epic, that kind of vibe, and that's what we'll
John
keep
Williams.
going. Yeah, kind of like a John Williams vibe in a way. So, but anyway, I think it's enough about Emma. So. And the questing. I was going to talk about kind of the big thing the community is probably wondering about is apartments and building in your apartment, that kind of thing. And why didn't that come out in December? Why not? Well, because we stopped it from going out because we're still having some issues with it. So creating an area in a game where you have 50 to 100,000 physicalized real estate locations for every player to go in and have their own space and their own view is not something that's done. I mean, 99% of games haven't attempted something to that level, and 100% have not attempted it on the quality level that we're doing it now. So really important thing on this is efficient loading of data. So you have a player coming into a server, and we need to know if they own an apartment or not. If they don't, there's some things we have to do. If they do, we need to make sure we load in that apartment on demand when they're close by. So, and when we do that, we have to officially load up to thousands of actors for that one apartment. Because in apartments, you can place things around, you can snap walls, you can put doors and furniture and recolor them. It's not just thousands of assets, it's variables changed on those assets as well. So what I didn't want to do was release something that was very, very half baked, and we had to have a hot fix, or the very next release wipe all of the community's building progress on that. That's what I'm trying to prevent. We're trying to get it right from the beginning. Not something that's totally at an early access level, but something that's maybe a little bit more at a alpha or a beta level for that kind of thing. So, but in the process of apartments, we're still working on. You're going to go to just a run through. You're going to go to the Skyland real estate office there. You're going to look for free apartments or locations that are premium apartments that you can claim. You'll claim those. You get a key to the apartment. You can go open it, and then you can access the building system and actually use IGC or in-game currency to purchase things that you want out of the modern building kit that comes with the game. And if you own one of our other building kits, you'll be able to build things with that as well. You'll also be able to craft things that go into your inventory that you can use to place in the apartment as well. So there's the apartments. I don't think, a lot of people may not realize how sticky the apartment building side of things is going to be for the game, but now people will have a consistent reason to be in game every day, kind of grinding away, beautifying their place, showing it off with other people, hanging out with other people at their apartment. It becomes a major anchor point for the player. It is the player home. And I know what some of you are probably thinking is, well, what about the plots? You're probably thinking about that. Well, that's the same system. So will we release the apartment building and plot building all in the same release? Maybe not. The plot one might follow slightly after. What it is apartments are pretty much the most extreme use case of the system. So we want to make sure we get that right. Plots will go a lot more smoothly after that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes if we can do both.
So we're aiming for next build for that.
The next major release that we have, the first, is definitely going to be apartments.
Welcome home.
Claiming building. Yeah. Coming home.
Coming home.
Is what it's been called for now. Yeah.
And not all the core stakeholders on that project in a meeting this week, right? And so we've identified the solution to the problem of the 50,000, and now it's more of how do we who's doing what to help solve that problem, correct?
Yep. And everything else I'm going to talk about, we also have a lot of other things in parallel that are going on, because we don't just work on, all right, let's focus on what's coming out in the next release, and then we'll work on what's coming on all this stuff has to run in parallel. So at the same time, we have sort of Rift Mechs and Rift Battles going at the same time. There's a lot of work that goes into that. You've got these creatures that come out of rifts. They got armor plates. Armor plates have various different levels, from light, medium, heavy armor plates. You also have various versions of each one. If you look at the blueberry butt, I'll just call him that, or the merc, as the community knows it, you'll have the merc. Yeah, you'll have three different versions of that, from a light, medium, and heavy. You'll see this with the jab. You'll see it with the hopper. I don't know if the community's seen the hopper.
We've seen it with the drones.
Yeah. On a very basic level, that was some of our early testing for that sort of thing. Community members may not know that, but especially on the drones, those armor plates have different values that are on there, so you can actually strategize how to take them out. But on a drone, it's more of a very compact use case. A lot of people are just aiming at the general floating, sphere that's coming at you. So,
and we just updated them, didn't we, with this release?
You do have the heavies, you got the medium, you got the light versions of the Terra drones. So you'll kind of see that same thing. It'll just be a little bit more visceral. The whole thing, when you've got these, you got the big robots walking around with their.
Where are we with that right now in development? Like, are they being animated? They're fully.
They're in rigging and animation right now. We already have it goes beyond that. It's not just about having rigging and animation. It's also having the dumb AI systems for them to move around and target players. And it's more complex when you're dealing with a humanoid style robot rather than a drone that just moves around. They've got to have IK, they've got to walk on the ground. You've got to be restricted to what those things can do. Can they turn their torso all around? How far can they turn their gun? There's all these little constraints that have to happen with those that make them more complicated. But right now we have all of the creatures that are set for this, what I'm calling the storm release. We had the calm before the storm. Now we have the storm that's finally arriving. Those are all modeled and in a rigging and setup process as the actual mechanics of them are being worked on in game. There's another side of that too. You're not just fighting creatures that come out in waves leading up to a final boss. I don't know, has we haven't seen the dread frame?
No.
We haven't seen the big dread frame. It's
No.
massive. Yeah, so there's a boss. Yeah, what?
That sounds leaky.
Sorry. I'm just letting things out again.
No,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Giant elephant-like boss creature mech that comes out at the end before you can close the rift. But you're not just fighting those. You're also fighting the rift itself. The rift will have anchor points and time stones. So you have to fight against the actual sort of this mechanical quantum rock injection of a rift itself to actually progress as well. And once you close the rift, there's going to be a final, I'm not going to promise it, but there is some final loot in the end, a final Heart of the Rift box to take your spoils. And we are also, before a community member has a question about this, we are making consideration for how much damage people do in these battles themselves. So if Josh is sitting there sweating away, he's done 90% of this battle, and then Rob just hops in at the last moment and kills the last guy, Rob's not gonna get as much as Josh. So
I mean that's like 9-ball. I can play somebody, they can clear up, and I just pop up and put the 9-ball at the end, and happy days on the win.
You're the closer.
Yeah, we're not doing those types.
Yeah, there'll be lots of rare loot as well, and then of course special rewards, and you also get IGC, XP, probably some Infinity.
And we actually just introduced that, didn't we? In this current build, when you actually kill the drones, don't they start dropping loot now?
Yep. You'll start seeing different things. Terra drones, because they're kind of from this version of Earth. You're going to see a lot more normal things that they drop. When you're fighting sort of things that come out of rifts, you'll probably see a little bit different things out of those. So that kind of leads us into maybe a little bit of another thing that's being worked on in parallel is the progression side of stuff. So, and that also, it kind of all goes together because it's, this is why we've taken so much time to do this, because you need expanded crafting, you need, to go with that progression. You need the crafting progression and even questing to kind of work together at the same time. And I know there's a lot of community questions about how progression works itself, but I kind of want to do, maybe I can do a little bit of a breakdown a little bit on how that works. But
please.
So you got your inventory screen right now. You'll have a little tab over at the top of that where you can go to the progression screen. So, and as I'm doing things around the world, whether it's chopping trees, killing drones, closing down rifts, competing in races, whatever it is, you're getting XP. And as your XP goes up, eventually you get to points where you level up. When you level up, you gain perk points. So you might get a couple perk points, and then we have a screen that's got a whole bunch of things across that. You will have, let me just pulling up my notes on that. Across there, you'll start with, let's say it's like Rob the Fox 44. You'll see your gamer tag that's there. You'll have a clever name that you've given yourself, which I'm not going to go too deep into that, but say you're the Scrappy Explorer for now. You'll see your level. You'll see how much Infinity you have, along with the perks, and also your IGC, all in one place. But to the right of that, you'll have avatar abilities, weapon abilities, specializations, Infinity rewards. You also have your quest log, eventually different titles and some database stuff where you can kind of get an idea of everything you own and what's going on in the world at the time. So So let's focus in. I'll talk about avatar abilities and specializations. And this is kind of similar to Fallout in a way, or very, very similar. Everything has a specialization tree. So health does, strength and stamina on the avatar. Specializations do. So like electronics, woodworking, metalworking. Everybody starts at 0 on all of those, and you kind of decide the path that you want to go. So let's say you've leveled up. You're now a level 3, and you've got some perk points. You're actually going to go and decide the direction that you want to progress on. We're not doing the direction where it's, to me, is, I don't know, sometimes feels a little bit too grindy. Let's say I want to become better and more efficient at chopping wood with an axe. So I would just go chop wood a whole lot until I leveled that thing up and got better at it. So I don't even think that's how it works in real life very well. You don't, a lot of people start out as a beginner in something and they're doing all the wrong techniques. You don't really get a lot better in an extreme way by doing the same thing over and over again. You learn new techniques, right, over time, and that's how you improve. So instead of sitting there chopping wood away all the time, you're actually going to go and you can get that XP in any way, and you can level up the woodworking section of things, or you can level up your tools. Or let's say you want to get better at shotguns. You could specifically decide to spend your perks on shotguns. But let's focus on woodworking. What would a tree like that, what would a perk tree look like for woodworking? So the very first thing you're going to have in any of these specializations is access to the crafting bench, the tier 1 crafting bench. You're not going to be able to do anything in woodworking until you have access to that. So you spend a perk point on woodworking 1. So now you got access to the tier 1 crafting bench, and you spend some time actually doing some crafting, gaining some XP from that. Once you've got more perk points, so you want to level up, you might have a split direction that you can go. You've got woodchuck on one side and quick carpenter on the other side. Woodchuck would give you 10% more wood collected from trees. Quick carpenter would give you 10% crafting time taken off of woodworking, or it might give you a certain amount off of the chopping of things. After you complete those, you might move further down the tree, and this tree gets wider as you go down. You run into things like Axe Master or the perfect chair, which gives you a new crafting recipe for chairs that other players might not know. The Diamond Blaze gives you 10% less sawmill processing time. So as you go down, as you want to focus on a specialization that you're interested in, you're going to spend it your way. And every time you don't have to spend it on just one thing. You might want to level up, spend a little bit on health and strength. You might spend some in rewards and also decide to work on a couple specializations in the process. So hopefully that gives everyone a wider idea of how the progression works with things. And it allows us to develop things very quickly and also be modular with this stuff. We can keep adding more and more stuff on, so there's infinite progression in specializations. So you guys got really quiet.
No, I love it.
Probably too wordy.
You got my brain spinning, because for me, you're talking about systems upon systems, which is exponential value increase to the game. Questing alone, yes, it's great, and it's amazing that we accomplished that. But you add on crafting with questing, and you combine those systems, even better, an exponential increase in complexity and value that you can offer for the player. And then when you add in progression to that, and XP and rewards, all sorts of stuff, now it's getting sticky, it's getting fun. It's systems upon systems that create massive value. I mean, you got my head spinning. So I'm super excited about this. I love that we're at this stage where these things are being worked on in parallel and we're actually delivering.
Yeah.
And there'll be some items, won't there, that you can't craft unless you do certain tasks, like maybe kill some of the wreck monsters.
You've got 15, 16 specializations. We're not going to start out with that many. There's going to be a more narrow set in the beginning. But you move up in tiers of crafting. And your first 3 tiers, you can actually have in an apartment with those. Your 4th and 5th tier, you're going to have a plot. for those things, because that's, you're moving from a small little workbench to a larger workbench to a whole corner of a room sort of set up for crafting, to a store, to a warehouse factory kind of situation. So, and every time you move up in a tier on your specializations, crafting is becoming more complicated and bigger at that point. So you start out with a tier 1, and it's actually more simple than Minecraft. You just have like three possible ingredients that you can have per recipe, and then the next tiers adds another ingredient, then another, and then another, and then you've got this massive, more complicated thing that you can actually use to make. I think cooking is going to be really, really fun in that way, because you start out with really basic things like, hey guys, I can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It has bread, peanut butter, and jelly. So, and then you work your way up to more, a lot more complicated Michelin star meals at the other end.
I know we can have like
so
a recipe page where people can see what they've discovered.
Yes, so there is, I think I saw somebody ask about that, but the crafting is blind as it is right now, and it's going to stay blind for the most part. You can work with other community members on what they discovered, tell them, and then, all right, you've discovered it too. The game is going to save that discovery, and you'll be able to go to a page to see the recipes. And then you could select one, and then it tells you, hey, you need this for it. So that'll go for all these specializations. So, but very excited about all this stuff. Right now, there's just 3 recipes that are in there for the hotfix. But as these things happen, obviously, when we get a system and we get it nailed down, you have this explosion of content that comes afterwards. So the next release, I think we can look forward to 40 or 50 crafting recipes for people to do, and some of these are a multi situation. Like you're not going to be able to craft one recipe until you've spent time crafting one ingredient that a recipe needs. So there's so cool. Much gameplay in just the crafting side. Yeah. So
you'll be able to trade with other players, maybe, because we have the ability to pick up and drop items.
Yes, that is I don't know why my throat's getting so dry. Maybe I'm talking too much, but I was going to get to kind of that's what's going to happen towards the end of the year with the in-game markets at a micro to macro level. But sure.
No, I'm excited to get into that conversation. The in-game market, you're talking about the economy, participation.
There's been so much planning on that economy thing for like years. I've got Miro boards like all over the place with like it's taken so much work for it to make sense. And it's funny, you spend a lot of work on this and then you start realizing that you're just creating real life with the economy and you're letting free market sort of take over. But you've also got levers at the same time for that, because you can't have an economy that is completely manipulable by certain parties. So we still have to have some control. That's actually where a lot of games fail, is they, I think, try to do a total player economy. And you're part of a world, players should have to compete against AI entities in there as well that represent BubbleJet and bigger companies in the game. So they're also participating in trade, which keeps a lot of things like steel prices stable. So
it's coming to a point where we're going to need to engage and work with Philip a little more regularly. But yeah, that is exciting for me. What you're saying there and the work that we've done positions the game and the player for so much freedom for how they create their life, their digital sense of life inside of Infinity Rising. And how do you participate in this economy? There's choice. There's the power of choice. There's progression. There's all sorts of different ways to participate in that economy. So do you want to dig into that more right now? Or
I was actually I think we have to have another full episode about that stuff. I was going to kind of dig into some of the other stuff that we also have going on in parallel. So
okay, let's make sure that we have a full episode on the rest of that, and we might even bring Philip in for that. I'll talk to him about that. But okay, go on to the next.
So where's Esperanza? We spent a lot of time getting certain things right for Solus. We've actually had the Esperanzas for some time now, but they're not quite at the polished level. We need to redo some things. We also have the Esperanza hub that's coming together because they're the way the world's built is you've got these zones, you've got all three of those around a hub. You got a hub city, and that's Solus, and then you'll have the same thing for Esperanza. So you'll be able to travel between Solus and Esperanza, but that is in the works. I don't know if we'll see that on the next major release. It's possible. It might be the one after that, but Esperanza it'll be pretty cool to be somewhere else besides Solus. And the really exciting part of that is it means that also Fortune work has started. So it's I'm very
that
excited.
is a leak. You didn't tell us that this morning. You sneaky guy.
Sorry. Yeah. So Fortune work has started, and that's based around Japan.
And the variation in food, there'll be lots of varieties of different food.
Yeah, that's
fish.
the other side of the economy stuff. Is it's like, wow, Esperanza produces a lot of pineapples, but Solus doesn't. Solus has a demand for pineapples, so hey, get your bubble jet skylifter or whatever hauler that you have, scoop up some pineapples and make yourself a profit. So there's
and I think you went over that pretty quick, but I think you also just announced there that world travel will be coming.
Okay. Yeah.
I missed that, actually.
Yeah. So that's more like the mid. I think it's going to be at the summer point is what we're aiming at for that. And there's a little bit of work that's been done on that. But yes, because this year is about completion of all the major core systems, you will be traveling in your bubble jet from hangar to hangar. You can fly from Toledo to Solus. You can pick something up at Solus and go over to Esperanza. So that vehicles are going to make a lot more sense to everyone at that point. And I think we're going to go from people saying, we don't want more vehicles to, can we have more vehicles, please? At that point.
Will we be flying alongside the Atmos?
Well, yes, some very few lucky folks will have those.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're implying, can we fly in a group of bubble jet sprinters as pirates and trying to rob an Atmos mid-air?
No, I was just thinking.
Okay, because that's where my brain went.
No, I was just thinking, can we fly the Atmos?
Yes. So that's where the Atmos, the bubble jet skylifter, and I think we're gonna have a few others by then as well. So there's a lot of, I think, a few use cases for larger and medium ships, and I think there's also a big use case for even the racer style ships, because you can fly around super fast from place to place with those machines, and you're doing it in style, and you're landing at hangars where other players can check out your machine. So it's I don't know, it's kind of just like
the Shinobi. I've been racing that over Christmas. That is so good to race.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's just like real life. If I show up in a muscle car, somebody's going to ask me, well, how fast is that thing in real life? If I show up in a giant minivan, somebody's going to say, how much space that thing got, how many seats? So it's in that charming way. It's just like real life with cars. So, shall we get into what's going to happen to the avatars? So that's kind of a big one. I think the community will be pretty happy about this. So it's kind of like we're going into the next avatar iteration, but it's a little bit different. It's not so much about cosmetics. You might see some things added there, but we want to add the abilities for players to save multiple different genetic sets of avatars. So, and that means that you can give them names, and you can kind of have your own family of avatars, and it's all in the same accounts. You will own the same stuff. You're just kind of swapping out who's playing at the moment. The next stage of and there's some data work that we got to do, some database stuff, some changes to the avatar to make this stuff happen really well. The next stage is, hey, what if I make my main avatar character Steve, and I also have Jane that I created, but I wanna be Steve, and I want to go hang out with Jane. while I'm doing things in game. So in a dumb AI follower kind of way, that will be the next step, where you're able to take more than one avatar with you while you're doing things in the world, to give your extra little bit of leg up. It's also great for people that like to role play, things like that. And then there's another step that's in the works, and that is a big one, is to bring actual life to. We have such a good avatar system where AI is going LLMs. I even saw what Razer did recently with their, the little companion that they had. What if you had a companion that was in game that you created? This is a premium item, by the way, and it can remember your experiences together. It can talk to you. You go into that next Rift battle, and it's like, hey, how about you don't do what you did last time? Remember that one thing back there when that big creature stepped on your head, and we had to go all the way back to the medical center, and then we lost that one piece of loot. So we're starting to get into the work of putting anchors into the game that an LLM can actually learn from these moments. Because AIs don't, when they're in a game, they're actually blind. That's reality. They're not there like we are. They just have to know what's going on. You have to build the awareness of that AI, and then you have to allow it to build up a memory of those particular things for a player. But once you get to that point, you also have voice synthesis. We want to take these avatars, the avatar creator, to a full level of even AI companionship in game, and I think that's going to do so many things. It's going to make some people never leave their house. It's quite possible some people might fall in love. We're kind of opening Pandora's box.
I can't be more excited about that. I mean, we announced it 2 years ago. AI powered LLM, NPCs, NFTs. That is incredibly powerful use case for gaming, and the fact that we're getting there is very exciting to me. But you kind of deflated that a little bit for me in conversations over the past couple of weeks, just due to the complexity and how many steps that we have. But we're taking baby steps, and what I want to do is get aggressive about that as much as possible, so that we're not missing the boat here while others we know are also working on it. So we're going to get aggressive with that. And what are your thoughts on just getting aggressive and really kind of making sure that that's a win, that's a victory for us this year?
It's a big task, and it's something that we have to do really, really well. It's just there's definitely very specific ordered steps for this. There's also the back end tech side. I don't know if we want to mention how nodes would make a role into that, but there's a little bit. I'll probably just leave it at that. So there's a lot that needs to go into this from all aspects, but I believe this very much is the future of gaming and a lot of things. I think as humans continue, and I think it's already happening to people, and they don't realize that we will gain more companionship with AIs, like naturally. So take somebody that uses ChatGPT all the time, and it has a name, and they spent time with it for years, then say, hey, how about you delete your account? And you don't do that anymore. They're going to be like, you're not taking this away from me. There's an attachment there that's growing in humanity with companionship.
My wife argues with her GPT.
That's, whatever floats people's boats, but at least there's a relationship going on there. I think the next stage that we're going through humanity wise with this sort of tech and AI is the embodiment of AI. And that means things like Razer, that's, you've got this cute little thing sitting on your desk that you communicate with, that can see things that you're doing and check out your gaming. It means robots that are walking around your house that can help out with older folks and be a companion to lonely people and help with children. And it also means, in a big way, that things in game become alive for the first time. And you start to actually develop a true relationship with characters in a game. And I know a lot of this sounds probably really wild and very unhealthy or scary to a lot of people, but it's the future, and we've just
actually, it is very scary, and you're 100% correct. Yeah. Embodiment is the next phase. There's tons of robotics companies are already blowing up Obviously, humanoids are on the way. All sorts of things are on the way. Like it is scary. I completely agree with you, because you empower a robot that can take direction with intelligence, and a lot of jobs will be displaced by it, but how many will be created? We don't really know. So
there's that, and there's relationship implications.
oh God,
You
yeah.
know, big
Yeah.
time with that. You just, I think the next decade is going to be one of the wildest in
I
humanity.
completely agree. Exponential change.
Lots of things are going to change. So
Yeah, it's baffling.
Yeah.
Baffling.
Imagine 5 years from now, 50% of the music listened to is AI generated, 50% of the games in a way, and 50% of people's capacity for in day-to-day relationships are with artificial intelligence.
God, see,
And
that
talk
scares
about,
me. I don't want
Yeah.
that large of a percentage of what I listen to be non-human created. There's something powerful about sitting in front of a guitar
Some
player.
people will
but-
also get their AI characters to play the games for them. And to be fair, they've been doing that for years anyway.
Yep.
People like to cheat.
Indeed. We need
That's true.
prison.
Well, so let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to the real concrete goal of having an AI companion. We're going to stay laser focused. We're breaking that into pieces. We're going to have MVPs along the way, and a process for you guys to watch along with us and participate with us in that. And it's going to be fun. We'll get you more detail on that as it develops. But yeah, that's great. David, was there anything else you had on your list, or was that the last? That was the leak, by the way, the AI companion there.
We kind of touched on the first 6 months. We also touched on things for towards the end of the year. Just exponential increase of value for the game and stickiness, because all of these things are starting to come together. The more systems you have, the more those connect, and the more those make more fun. And then all we start doing is pumping more content into those particular things. So that's what you're going to see. I warned of it last year, but this year is really we're going to see it majorly start hitting.
It's unfolding, and it's going to be fun to watch. Man, it's going to be a hectic year, though. There's a lot.
It always is. So
it always is. But you know what? Like this year, it's the year of the corn. It's the year of the rise.
Like every year of the corn, year 4 or year 3 or one of those. So
yeah,
it's going to be a good one. I'm very excited about this year.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Well, questions, Rob? You have some questions for Sir David?
I do have a question, actually. I have a question from you say his name. Here it is.
Добрый день. Будет ли поддержка русского языка? Например, перевести интерфейс и субтитры, как сейчас делают в других играх. Добрый день. Будет ли поддержка русского языка? Например, перевести интерфейс и субтитры, как сейчас делают в других играх.
So good. I played it twice. So his question is about translating the game into Russian and other languages, you know, and that's actually now become a lot harder, because as we've seen as we're bringing in cutscenes and we have subtitles on the screens and we have voices, that actually introduces more work that we've got to do, because currently everything is in everything is in English, American, both of them.
Yeah,
Australian, Canadian.
It's definitely something that's going to happen a little bit later stage for the most part with things, because you really want to spend time on what your major demographic, language is first. You want to get that right before you move on to translating it to Chinese and French and all these other things. So it's definitely something we'll look at in the future. But are we supporting Russian language or doing that anytime soon? Probably not. So
I think there's also an opportunity in the future, maybe for a node, but definitely AI can play a part with either helping us to translate or maybe working alongside. So I think the path to translation is somewhat easier. No, not necessarily easier, but there's different paths than what were available, say 5 or 6 years ago.
Let's hope it can help. I mean, I've had a few. So there occasionally we'll have. I love all of our game team members that we have here, and it was somebody I was talking to. They're from Poland. Fantastic team member, and I was trying to explain something, and it just didn't make any sense. And I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll translate what I'm going to say to her. I'll use GPT to say it in her language, and I did that, and apparently it was awful. And then it made even worse sense, and it was sort of funny at the same time. So hopefully, I'm not sure. Are the AIs great at translating? I don't know. Maybe they are. But in personal experience,
some words translate, some don't.
Yeah,
I remember as a kid we heard about in German they had Vater batteries, and I think it was VARTA. So but we called it that was the brand name, I think, or that's the word for battery, Vater.
Vater batteries.
Yeah. So, but I think some things can be offensive. I think wolf. I think the word for wolf is offensive in some languages when it's translated. So yeah, we don't want to be guessing at that. It's an interesting topic, translating.
We'll figure it out.
And that'll come a lot more as we decide to geographically focus on other markets as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to have to be a strategic decision from a point of how things are going in the area already to a funding, because there's a good amount of cost to increase infrastructure in certain areas. There's a variety of reasons to be very strategic about how we do that. But obviously, we want to make this as available as possible for everyone. It's just a matter of how we utilize our resource.
Yeah, I think the thing on top of that, the more layers that you add like that, like when we added DLSS and FSR, and now also it applies if we'd added languages as well. When you do a new release or any new content, you have to look back and think, right, is it still compatible with that? Is it still compatible with that? Do we need to now build more stuff? I mean, they exponentially increase, and that's obviously costs and time. And then ultimately, it can just slow down releases. So we do have to be careful.
Agreed. Okay. Did you have any more questions? Was that it?
We had a lot of questions about XP and progression, but David covered them so much before that if people that have asked those questions are not quite happy, please ask again or watch the episode again, and we'll go through them. But there was an awful lot on that, so I did let that ride.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. So thanks everybody for watching, and exciting year ahead. And stay with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome. You're here early, that's good. Means there's something special about you. We got a whole lot going wrong around here. You better train up. Welcome. You're here early, that's good. Means there's something special about you. We got a whole lot going wrong around here. You better train up. We got terrors knocking on our infrastructure, and some mighty strange occurrences going on. I'm afraid our world is at risk. Without people like you, Cornucopias might fall into darkness. Better get smart, get trained, and be ready. The storm is coming. I can feel it. I'd like to say we've been through worse, but this time I'm not so sure. Good luck out there. You're going to need every bit you can get.
Children of the multiverse, you have crossed the veil through the gate to stand with us in Cornucopias. You have my appreciation. I am but a messenger. A guide sent to show you the path that must be walked. But know this, the rifts are only the beginning. What you have seen is but a shadow of what is yet to come. The path ahead is dark, and the cost will be great. For the dangers you face are not born of this world alone, but from beyond it. Some of you will fight the tide, others will build and restore, some will weave knowledge, while others will sustain through trade and creation. Strength, will, and unity, these are the bonds that will endure when all else is broken. Rise now, stand against the tide, for infinity does not end, it begins. Infinity is rising.